Welcome, my name is Rida Chebet Karing. Attention is this week shifting to Egypt, where world leaders will be congregating at the United Nations Conference on Climate. Kenya is represented by President William Samoei Ruto, who is already in Egypt. Ruto delivered two speeches on behalf of the country and the continent as chair of the Committee of African Heads of State. That was at 4 p.m. on Monday evening. Bushebi Jr. with more.
The United Nations climate talks began Monday, officially with a major win for Kenya and other developing countries following an agreement to formally include discussions on the financing of loss and damages.
The last 8 years have been the warmest on record, making every heat wave more intense and life-threatening, especially for vulnerable populations.
Newly elected president of COP27, Sameh Shoukry, told the meeting that financing of loss and damages is one of the issues to be discussed by members in the coming days.
Whilst I do understand that leaders around the world have faced competing priorities this year, we must be clear. As challenging as our current moment is, inaction is myopic and can only defer climate catastrophe.
Kenya was one of the countries pushing for a formal discussion on the matter that has divided the rich and the developing nations.
We are currently in the middle of a drought, a severe drought that we have not seen in 40 years. Nonetheless, we are taking bold and pragmatic steps, investing heavily in climate action. We are doing this despite our emissions and those from the entire Africa region being negligible, less than 4% of the world's emissions. Last year, at COP26, Kenya joined other countries in signing the Glasgow Leaders' Declaration on Forests and Land Use.
The year 2022 has laid bare the urgency needed to address climate change, from devastating floods in Pakistan, deadly heat waves in Europe to catastrophic wildfires in the United States. Nature is getting wilder and more lethal. Unfortunately, the poor are the ones on the receiving end. Africa, which has been bearing the brunt of climate change, has teamed up with other developing countries to push the developed countries to develop mechanisms of financing damages and losses caused by climate change.
Early in 2016, we joined the Africa Forest Landscape Restoration Initiative and committed to restore 5.1 million hectares of degraded land. We have now gone above and beyond this commitment by scaling up to grow 5 billion trees in the next 5 years and 15 billion trees in the next 10 years, covering not 5.1 million hectares but 10.6 million hectares.
This has caused a serious pushback, especially from the United States. In the past, climate funding largely focused on cutting greenhouse emissions in an effort to curb climate change. Now, the focus is now turning to compensating losses and damages caused by climate change. Members of the civil society have urged the more than 150 world leaders to increase their funding to climate adaptation to help poor communities deal with impacts of climate change. And as delegates settle down to discuss matters climate change, the next 14 days will be critical for Mother Earth, with experts saying that countries must work out how to make good on existing pledges while at the same time formulating new ones to ensure the world remains safe.
Sea levels are rising at twice the speed of the 90s, posing an existential threat for low-lying island states and threatening billions of people in coastal regions.
For Maisha Prime, Maisha Television, I'm Bushebi Jr.